Welcome to our daily reflection for this Wednesday, April 16th, which is known in the church tradition as Spy Wednesday, because this is when Judas starts scouting out a way to betray Jesus. And as we hear in the gospel today, he goes to the chief priests and asks, "What will you pay me if I hand Jesus over to you?" And so we see Judas working as a traitor, as a spy. And of course, this matches what we get in the first readings in Isaiah, who gives us the first reading, Isaiah 50. We find Isaiah who gives his back to be beaten, his face to be spit upon. He endures suffering and he sets his face to flint to obey God, and he trusts God in the end. And Jesus will be that suffering servant who trusts God in the midst of that. And then Psalm 69 is all about being betrayed. Even your brethren, see you as an outcast. And yet the psalmist in Psalm 69 is suffering, but he puts his trust in God, and Jesus embodies that, of course. And then, of course, the gospel, we continue back to that, and Judas will sell him for 30 pieces of silver. And then once we hear that, Judas is looking for a way to betray him. And then on the first day of unleavened bread, which is Passover, the disciples come to Jesus and say, "Where do you want us to prepare the Passover?" And notice what Jesus does. He gives them a very convoluted, symbolic, mysterious message about where they're going to prepare the Passover. He doesn't say it's on 3rd and Camel Street. He says, all right, go into the city and you'll see a man with a water jar. Follow him. He will take you to a house. Go to the householder and say, the master, the rabbi, needs a place to celebrate the Passover. And then he will help set it up for you. And so why doesn't Jesus just say, oh, I'm going to be on 3rd and Camel? Because Judas is there, will know exactly where Jesus will be ahead of time, and then he will tell the chief priests and the scribes, and they will arrest Jesus during the Last Supper, maybe at the beginning of it. And Jesus has to institute the new covenant and the Eucharist at the Last Supper before he dies. So Jesus is being carefully and intentionally elusive of where they will celebrate the Passover that night, because he knows he's a wanted man. And he knows Judas is betraying him. And so that's really important. So that's why he says, go into a city and you'll find this person, then that's the place. So then it's an evening, and then the disciples go there, and the disciples who follow Jesus, they don't know where they're going. Jesus takes them there. But Peter and John know, but they're preparing. So Judas never gets the opportunity to give away the name of the place. Now, after the supper, Judas leaves because he knows Jesus is going to the Mount of Olives, to the Garden of Gethsemane. And so then he leaves to betray Jesus, and he'll be seized in the garden. And so it's really important, and I think helpful, to understand the flow of events and to realize that, as Jesus then says, as he begins the Last Supper, one of you will betray me. Now, it's important for Jesus to teach his disciples that he knows exactly what's going to happen. He knows he's going to be betrayed. In fact, he even knows who the betrayer is, as he reveals to John, the beloved disciple. He'll say that he'll point out that it's Judas. And by doing so, Jesus is showing that he's not taken unawares, that this is not against his plans or the plans of God, that he would be betrayed and that he'd be seized and that he'd die. He wants to show his disciples that he knows what's going on, and he's doing it freely, so that they understand that everything that happens is according to God's plan. And even though the forces of evil are working against Jesus, God has a plan that includes the calculus for the work and doings of evil. And so that should give us faith as we see that played out for Jesus, and also as we see it played out in the church and in our own lives. God is in control. Let us totally and completely trust him. No matter what Judases are running around, in or outside of the church, we don't have to be afraid, my friends. Have trust in God. He has all this calculated in his plans. May the Lord give you faith and trust, and may he bless and keep you.
This daily reflection is brought to you thanks to the generous support of the Mission Circle. Join the Mission Circle to help Catholics worldwide understand, live, and share their faith. Sign up at missioncircle.org today.